Well, here we have reached our final segment, and we're still focusing on what you could do after the students have read a passage. You may have noticed that many of your struggling readers are also struggling spellers. In fact, one of the most important things we could do almost on a daily basis with struggling readers is also to dictate words and give them practice in spelling. And so that's what we're going to look at in this segment. And why might it be really important to include in our lessons, when possible, the dictation of spelling words? Well, one reason is the one we just mentioned, that struggling readers are struggling writers and spellers. But another reason is, if the students are dictated a word and they really have to listen to the sounds or listen to the parts of the word and then write it down, it strengthens the connections between letter and sounds, the connections between parts of words like prefixes and their spelling, suffixes and their spelling. So actually, in the act of spelling the word, we are strengthening the students' ability to read the same words. Another reason that we want to include spelling is not just to strengthen those connections, but teach kids strategies that they could use on their own. Now, if you have to spell a word that you're not certain about, here is exactly the strategy that you use. First, you say the word, slowing it down. Now, if it's a short word, you say the sound. So you say to yourself, last, last, and you write the corresponding letters. And then you look at the word and you ask yourself, does it look like last? And from your visual memory, you could correct the spelling of the word. Or if it was a long word like convention, and you weren't quite certain how to spell it, you would again slow it down, convention. Then you'd write the parts, convention, and then you'd look at it and ask yourself, does it look like convention? Convention. I have S-I-O-N, but that doesn't look right. No, it should be T-I-O-N. So the third reason that we would work on spelling is to teach students strategies that they could use all by themselves. Slow it down, say the sounds or parts, and then write those sounds or letters or parts, and then look at it and ask yourself, does it look like the word? So, how would you pick the spelling words? Well, remember many segments ago when we talked about picking out words when we were going to teach the students the pronunciation of the words. Now you can look right back at that list and from it pluck out words for your spelling dictation. Now you particularly want to look for words that focus on the patterns that the students have been learning. Maybe they've been learning so you'd pick words. Maybe they've been learning words with AI, so you'd pick words with AI. Maybe they have been learning words to read that included shun, so you'd pick words that included shun. So you're going to first look for words that would reinforce the patterns, the letter-sound associations, the prefix and suffixes that you've been teaching the students. And just go back to your list. Then also pick words that they might someday have a need to spell. Words that are high enough frequency that you can incorporate them in your daily writing. So let me share with you my thoughts as I picked out some spelling words for dictation. I'm not going to pick a lot because your time is of the essence. So you might pick 3 or 4 words to dictate and have the students write down. So in this lesson, which was from the story Fat Cat, I had some strategy words. And I said to myself, well, I'm going to dictate the word fat, I'm going to dictate the word Sam, and I'm going to dictate a little longer word, the word flat. So I picked 3 words. In this case, they all had the same sound because the students are learning that in reading. It was incorporated into the words in the story, so we'd also use it in spelling. But let's look at the other story that we wrote down the words for. The Best Thing to Be story. And there were many words there, too many to dictate. So I say to myself, which words have patterns that we've been working on that I might want to strengthen by dictating the word and having them write it? So I chose the word praise because it has that A sound, AI, that we've been working on. And then I chose the word restless. It is a word that is perfectly regular, but we've been working on the suffix less. I also picked the word rocket so we could review CK. and command and discover, because those words have both prefixes as well as discover has a suffix. And finally, I chose the word excitement because in the word excitement, we have X at the beginning, a prefix, ment at the end, a suffix. So we can again review those prefixes and suffixes. So you just look back at the words that you have chosen for pre-teaching the pronunciation, and from that pluck some spelling words. Now, believe it or not, there are really good ways to dictate words to kids. And so I'm going to model these practices very carefully so that you can use them often with your students. You might think that dictating spelling would be really easy, but there are some things that make a difference. So let's start with, I'm teaching you a short word, and we'll go back to really short. So my little reading group, I'm going to have them write down the word fat. So first I'd say the word. Our spelling word today is fat. I might even put it in a sentence. The story has a cat who was very fat. And then I might ask the kids, so what's the word? And of course they would respond, as you just did, fat. And then the next part is very useful. I would have them then say the sounds in the word. And the easiest thing to do is to have them put their fist up in the air and put one finger up for each sound. So say to them, get ready to say the sounds in fat. First sound, f. Next sound, ah. Next sound, t. So they're actually going to segment it into sounds. Now, many of you know that segmenting is a phonemic awareness skill. Phonemic awareness being, am I aware of the sounds in words? So we're incorporating that right in the lesson, having them put their fist up, saying each sound, segmenting it into the sounds. Then have them write the word. Now, what's most important in spelling dictation is actually the feedback that you'll give your students. We're kind of tempted just to say, well, fat is spelled F-A-T, auditorily. But that is not your best bet. The best bet is to, on the board or on your little slate or holding up your paper, to show them the spelling of it. So say, look at it and spell the word F-A-T. And so they see it to get a visual memory of the word. And then they're going to look at their word. Now, this also is important. If they have made a mistake, don't allow them just to fix it up. Maybe they wrote fit instead of fat. Don't allow them just to cross out the letter I and write above it A. Instead, have them cross it out and write the whole word. Because spelling is a very sequential skill, where one letter leads to the next letter, which leads to the next letter, which leads to the next letter. And so you want them to practice rewriting the word. I'll also tell you, it'll make them a lot more careful, because they'll know they don't get just the luxury of one letter change. They're going to have to rewrite it, so they're much more likely to proceed very carefully. So the big thing, if the word is short, one syllable, is to have the students say the sounds before they write it, and then showing them the whole word when they're done. But some of you are working with children who are reading not just single-syllable words, but multisyllabic words. So basically you'd use the same routine. So let's go to our more advanced story, and we'll use the word excitement. So first say the word excitement. Have them put their pencils down though, so they're actually like maybe looking at you and thinking. Pencils down. Our first spelling word is excitement. Have them repeat it, excitement. Put it in a story or a sentence. It gives me great excitement to teach you. And so put it in a sentence. Or if we went down a roller coaster, we would feel great excitement. So put it in a sentence. And then this time, have them put their fist up, and instead of saying the sounds, have them say the part. So ask them, in excitement, what's the first part? X. Next part, sight. Next part, ment. Because that's what you'd do. You'd segment the word into parts if it's a long word. Have them write down the word. And once again, don't spell it auditorily. Show them the word. Write it on the board or slate. Show them the word. Have them look at the word. And if they made a mistake, have them cross it out and rewrite the whole word. Now, what we know about spelling is that you need more to become a good speller than just reading. Reading helps because you get a visual memory, but actually giving students practice on words as an embedded part of your lessons, whether you're a teacher or a paraeducator, is a very good practice to strengthen spelling. And in the end, when you're an adult, your literacy is not measured by how well you read. You go to apply for a job, they're not going to say, Scott, read this. Kevin, read this. But they're going to instead ask you to write something down. And when you write it down, they're going to look at it to see if you're a literate person, the key to getting a job. And it will be your spelling that will be the indication of literacy. So we have to embed in what we're doing, not just reading, but also spelling.